Welcome back, everyone. So good to have you back, and thank you so much for joining me. During this Lent season in 2025, Lent being 40 days before Easter minus Sunday, we're going through what's called the 14 stations of Jesus. And these stations are basically us walking through the main events that took place on the way to Calvary. And today we're in station 8. Simon carries the cross. You can find that story in Luke chapter 23. Let me read one verse to us. Now, as they led him away, Jesus, they laid hold of a certain man, Simon, a Cyrenian, who was coming from the country, and on him they laid a cross that he might bear it after Jesus. Now, imagine Jerusalem. At this time, the sky over Jerusalem hung heavy that day, draped in a dull gray cloud. Dust kicked up in the air by restless feet and sharp, angry cries. The streets were packed tight, not with people celebrating Jesus, but with a restless mix of curious people. There were indifferent people. Who cares what's going on? The bitter, I can't believe. Some stood there just watching. Others, they hurled venom and angry words, their voices raw with hatred. Crucify him, crucify him. He's getting what he deserved. And right there, caught in the middle of it all, was Jesus, bruised and blood streaked. He could hardly put one foot in front of the other. Each step was agony, each ragged breath a fight. The crossbeam on his shoulders, too much, is crushing him. It's weighing down on him until he staggered and nearly fell. He couldn't go on alone. So the soldiers, they really didn't care about him or giving him mercy. What they cared was that they were on a timetable, on a schedule. Compassion wasn't on the list, and annoyed at the holdup, they survey the area, they survey the crowd. Is there someone who is strong enough to carry that cross for this man, Jesus? So you can picture the scene, right? Can you imagine being there right in the middle of it all? And you're watching all of this play out? I mean, what would you do if they're looking for someone to carry Jesus' cross? Well, take Simon of Cyrene, just an everyday guy from North Africa, probably in Jerusalem to celebrate Passover. And he's looking at this side. He's in the middle of it as well. That morning, he rolls out of bed, no clue his whole world's going to turn upside down. Simon is now waving his hand, right here, pick me, pick me. No one is doing that. He's just strolling by, minding his own business. When bam, and a Roman soldier snatches him back from the crowd and shoves him into a moment that'll echo and change his life and history forever. I mean, can you imagine his face? Eyes wide with shock, broad frown and confusion, and maybe a flicker of fear creeping in. Because the Roman law really doesn't mess around here. You don't get to veto. I don't want to do it. He can't say that. So there he is, ordered to hoist the cross for a beaten stranger. Suddenly, Simon's walking side by side with Jesus, caught up in the dust and the shame of it all. At first, maybe he's ticked off. He's angry. But also, maybe he was embarrassed to be associated with this man. Who wouldn't want to duck out of that spotlight, away from the sneers and the stench of death? But step after dusty step, something changes. He's not just lugging a chunk of wood for anyone. He's brushing against the suffering of the Messiah himself. What's going through Simon's head right here and right then? He hears Jesus breathing hard, sees the sweat and blood streaking down his face. and feels the weight of the cross digging into his own shoulder. Maybe it doesn't hit him fully in that moment, but he's part of something huge, carrying that heavy cross with Jesus. In that moment, it's going to rewrite his story. In the book of Mark, Mark drops this little nugget, this little truth. Mark chapter 15, verse 21. A certain man from Cyrene, Simon, the father of Alexander and Rufus, was passing by on his way in from the country, and they forced him to carry the cross. Did you hear that? There's a name drop there. Mark dropped a couple of names: Alexander and Rufus. Why? Unless this rocked their family to the core. Maybe Simon trudged home that night, tired, still reeling, told his boys, "You won't believe what happened today." Could it be that this forced burden opened door wide for his family? Not just for him, but for everyone in his family. Funny how life works, isn't it? Sometimes the crosses would never pick up on our own are the very tool God uses to pull us closer to be with Him. Ever had a moment like that? Where the weight you didn't want turned out to be the very instrument God uses to transform you and change you? See, Simon's story is your story, and Simon's story is my story. Nobody wakes up eager for suffering. At least I don't know anyone like that. Nobody prays for burden to carry. Lord, give me burden to carry. No. Yet life has a way of placing heavy loads on our shoulders without warning, uninvited. An illness, a betrayal, loss, struggles we never expected. Jesus said this in Luke 9:23. Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me. See, Simon shows us exactly what that means. Following Jesus, following Jesus isn't about comfort or ease. I mean, nothing wrong with those things. But at the core of it, it's about surrender and obedience, about stepping onto a hard path we couldn't choose or we didn't choose, walking alongside Jesus every step of the way. But here's the beautiful part. We're once again reminded we are not alone. Let me say that again. We are not alone. Just as Simon walked beside Jesus, so you and I walk with him as well. He is near. Each difficulty we face, each struggle we go through, each heartache we experience, Jesus walks with us, carrying the heavy burden, giving us the strength to continue. Reminds me once again of this year's theme for our church, to be with him. I pray your heart longs to be with him, affectionate as we go through these 14 stations. See, Simon didn't ask for the cross that day. He didn't volunteer, here I am. It was forced upon him. Yet that single uncomfortable moment changed everything. I wonder how often God has placed something unexpected in your hands. A responsibility you didn't choose, a challenge you didn't want. What if, just what if, these moments are not interruptions but divine appointments? God used a moment of inconvenience to transform Simon's heart. Could he be doing the same thing with you? What if your current cross is actually pulling you closer to be with Jesus? See, Simon's story challenges each one of us to be to be honest with our own heart and ask some difficult questions. What burdens have I resisted, unwilling to carry? What God might be asking me? Do I see suffering as mere interruption or as a chance to walk closer and to be with Jesus? If you're going through a trying time right now at this moment, are you spending time walking with to be with Him? Or maybe, am I ready to embrace my cross, trusting God has something greater planned beyond my immediate comfort? Jesus carried the cross for Simon, and in that particular day, Simon carried the cross for Jesus. And today, the question stands before us: will we carry our own crosses? The journey isn't easy. Jesus never promised easy road, but it will lead to true life, eternal life, lasting life. And as you walk this day called today, I hope you remember Simon of Cyrene, an ordinary guy who carried the cross with Jesus, even if it was only for a moment. My friends, carry your cross boldly, trusting that every burden placed in God's hand brings something beautiful, something eternal. God bless you. And I hope this particular station blessed you and moved your heart to reflect more and deeply during this Lent season. If you want a worksheet, the link is in the description to help you think through these things for next 2 days. And again, before you go, hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. Such an easy way to help others to join us. Think of it as a small but meaningful way to share what we're learning, almost like a quiet act of spreading the gospel. It's evangelism. Again, God bless you and see you at Station 9.